the parliamentary compound, I will seize ground and can meet them, and we end it there and then.
Unfortunately, our parliamentary compound is not a detention center, so ours is for parking our cars.
Definitely, Right Honourable Speaker, I'm alive to that. But as a matter of surrender, if you did so, I would go and embrace them and seize this ground. I thank you for the patience and everyone enjoying in this, Right Honourable Speaker. And the nation is even more stressed, Right Honourable Speaker. The very reason this House of Parliament should find every reason to end this matter in a manner that the public does expect us to end it, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, before I delve into my response to the Minister's statement, I wish to state and remind ourselves of the role and duty of the legislature in situations like these. Right Honourable Speaker, Parliament, through its legislative mandate, molds the legal framework and shields the rights of every citizen, ensuring that the most vulnerable among us are protected and nurtured. Parliament, as the embodiment of the collective will of the people, brings human rights to reality. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, we must make it clear to everyone that our walkout and break from plenary activities was triggered by the continued indolence of government to address the most pressing and transgressing issues that affect our people and undermine their worth and dignity. That is something we couldn't withstand in an environment where our people's concerns are not prioritized. We demand answers, accountability, action taken, and redress for the violations, Right Honourable Speaker. The government should take full responsibility for its citizens as espoused in the international and national legal frameworks to which we subscribe, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, like the previous statements on the issue, the government has again taken a defensive approach to matters in which it is supposed to take a lead role in investigating and finding redress to the public outcry. It is not right and proper, Right Honourable Speaker, for the government to merely dismiss issues summarily without giving due regard to the overwhelming evidence presented at various fora. Besides the condescending style and language used in the Minister's speech, Right Honourable Speaker, we have found his statement to be extremely disparaging, detached, and frosty to the victims and their respective families. It should stand rejected in its inadequate stance, Right Honourable Speaker. With a view to keeping our focus on the substantive issues, I will not respond to the assertions that are apparently intended to divert us, Right Honourable Speaker. On another day, we shall indulge in the figures and rankings of our country on an international scale in as far as human rights are concerned. That's not for today. As for now, let us first discuss the issues of disappearances and arbitrary killings in which the government is not only implicated, but has also failed to conduct and present to the public comprehensive findings. I hope in that regard, the Minister will be proud that the 18 missing persons are isolated incidents, not warranting state intervention. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, I'm sure most of us were here at the return of multi-party politics in Uganda. I can certainly state that it was never the decision of the ruling government to reverse the movement system. It was the decision of the people, and this did not come on a silver platter. Most of us are not strangers to these processes. I know for a fact, like most of us do, that this has never dawned on the ruling party that other political parties and actors deserve space or even a right to advance their ideas and philosophies. Right Honourable Speaker, back to the human rights concerns we raised vis-à-vis the Minister's statement. I must state at the earliest that no response was made to the issues we raised. The Minister's statement was purely a political narrative, instead of giving the country a detailed and specific account of missing persons and remedy to their families. I would particularize the issues, Right Honourable Speaker, with their attendant titles. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, throughout the web of denials in the Minister's response, the most evident and striking attribute painted thereon is that no investigations were conducted at all. We are saddened by government's inaction in the face of these gross violations. Yet time is fast running. The victims continue reeling and harrowing in pain, despair, agony, and anguish. Clearly, if we continue with this lethargic approach, we will not get any answer from this numb and unresponsive government. Right Honourable Speaker, I will demonstrate subsequently
Order for what?
Made it clear about the conduct of members. It's the right honourable colleague, the leader of opposition, right to call that the government is actually numb and unresponsive. I don't think we are numb, and yet is responding. And yet the government actually presented a statement, and you are responding to the same statement that the government actually placed on the House. How is that being numb? We are not numb. The statement was given by the minister, which you are responding to. So is the leader of opposition in order to call this government numb and unresponsive? Thank you.
I wonder why you're raising your voices. We've agreed, let's use parliamentary language. And my brother Mpuuga, by the way, is one of the most disciplined persons, and I know you'll use parliamentary language. Please, another word, not now.
Right Honourable Speaker, I do concede to the fact that English is a second language to all of us, but I'm not numb to the feelings of members when I use a word not their customary to. The other meaning,
Honourable Mpuuga.
The other meaning
Honourable Mpuuga, in the interest of peace, I know you're a peace-loving person. Get that word. It costs you nothing. It costs you nothing. These are your colleagues, your best friends.
I want to assure the honourable member that the word numb is not insulting.
Please, I'm not telling you to defend.
It is descriptive of situations. And I want to invite members to be calm about, and they'll be free to respond to my statements, because
Honourable Mpuuga, Mathias,
which will not get an answer from this government that is insensitive and unresponsive to the needs of the people. Under the law, Right Honourable Speaker, states not only have...
There's a procedure matter. Independence and whichever. I know you've only worked with the two leaders of opposition, 2 or 3. So, anyway, Mathias addressed the House.
Refrain from intentional and unlawful deprivation of life, but must also take appropriate steps to safeguard the lives of those within their jurisdiction. In respect of the right to life, Uganda as a party is duty-bound to respect and ensure protection of individual rights. It is imperative, Right Honourable Speaker, to note that it is an obligation of states to establish effective facilities and procedures to investigate killings and cases of missing or disappeared persons in circumstances that may involve violation of the right to life. Right, Honourable Speaker, I'm going to lay a series of attachments after my presentation, and one of them is a reference to Article 2 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, to which Uganda is a party and therefore bound. Right, Honourable Speaker and colleagues, the responsibility of the state to proceed with an effective investigation is engaged, even when there is no evidence that agents of the state have been implicated in the killing or disappearance, and even if members of the victim's family or others have not lodged a formal complaint about the killing with the authorities. This is a duty. This duty is more stringent when the disappeared person was thus held in state custody. In such circumstances, it is incumbent upon the state to provide a plausible explanation as to the detainee's fate, as well as to ensure that some form of independent monitoring was undertaken. During the time we have been away, Right Honourable Speaker, from plenary, we have managed to reach out to families of the missing persons. Their revelations are quite touching and detail very well the state offices that they have approached and how they reacted to their approach. Dr. Honourable Speaker, I'm going to lay video evidence of this for your consideration, and will become house property should there be need to make a reference. I'm going to lay them. In light, I will highlight some of...
You lay the video evidence after I've looked at it personally as the presiding officer.
Much obliged,
in my office.
Right Honourable Speaker.
Then you will bring it.
That's why I've not made a prayer to play it.
Okay.
But I'll make it available as house property.
Okay.
For your consideration. I will highlight some of the cases that clearly indicate glaring contradictions in the statement presented by the Minister vis-à-vis statements obtained from the police, witnesses, and other state departments. I'll make a few highlights, not the entire 18. Let me sample for the House to make a judgment. Case 1 is that of Damulira John. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, the Minister has presented a report indicating that Damulira John is not among the people in government custody. Contrary to what the Minister stated in his report, Damulira's disappearance was reported to police and an SD reference was obtained to that effect. I have indicated this, Right Honourable Speaker. Contrary to what the Minister stated, Damulira's data is well captured with the NIRA under that number. He had a national ID and voter location slip. Right Honourable Speaker, we should also note that at this stage, that the case of Damulira John, just like many other cases of enforced disappearances, was reported to police, and the police was on record admitting his arrest and detention. On 22nd November 2020, Mr. Patrick Onyango, the spokesperson of Kampala Metropolitan Police, confirmed Mr. Damulira's arrest and several others on allegations of participating in protests around the Kampala metropolitan area, but denied torturing the suspects. And I quote him, "It is true, Damulira John is one of the people we arrested, but I cannot tell you where he and others are detained now. We did not torture any person. And as an institution, torture is prohibited as a form of interrogation." The Daily Monitor of 22nd November quote Mr. Onyango, confirming detaining Mr. Damulira John. Right Honourable Speaker, Damulira John's matter has been investigated by the Uganda Human Rights Commission, the Central Regional Office, and in a letter referenced, quoted, and dated 9th December 2020, addressed to the CMI, indicated that the Commission carried out investigation at Central Police Station, Kampala, and it was established that the victim, Damulira John, is being detained at CMI, Kampala. Right Honourable Speaker, That's correspondence between the Human Rights Commission and the Uganda Police. Right Honourable Speaker, for your information and the information of members, the relatives of Damlira John on 11th, John Bosco Kibalama. The minister denies knowledge of the holding point of John Bosco Kibalama, which contravenes what the Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Nabanja, asserted during the press interview in the corridors of Parliament. She had this to say: "But we are fortunate that Kibalama was traced. He was arrested, and recently in October in a place called Kakiri. And he is one of those that killed, he came to have killed the police officers in Mpuuga, Wakiso and other places." Honourable Speaker, a missing person case for Kibalama was reported at Nakanyonyi Police Station under that reference, a day after his abduction on June 3rd, 2019, discrediting the minister's narrative that the family did not contact police for any remedy. Honourable Speaker and colleagues, the Deputy Attorney General, the Honourable Jackson Kafuzi, featured on NBS TV talk show The Frontline, and he tried to spin the Prime Minister Honourable Nabanja's narrative by insinuating that the Kibalama she referred to is the founding member of NURP party, who is Moses Ngongo Kibalama. Honourable Speaker and colleagues, when the Honourable Kafuz was challenged by the show host, who replayed the Honourable Nabanja's bite, he rephrased this statement and said she misspoke. I don't know what that means. Honourable Speaker and colleagues, these ping-pong games by government officials should concern every right-thinking person. The attempt at this spin clearly shows how sections of the ruling party hold Ugandans in contempt and will not stop at anything to show disdain for them. The Prime Minister is on record of Parliament over her total knowledge as to the arrest and whereabouts of Kibalama, and we took her for her statement on record. Honourable Speaker, Mr. Kibalama was fully situated. Top government officials are aware of his whereabouts and how they handled his arrest. Honourable Speaker, the case of Mr. Wangolo Dennis. Mr. Wangolo was picked from his workplace at Chebando tax stage and bundled into a drone alongside 5 others, namely Nwagaba, Katende Bernard, Nsamba Silas, Kasato, and Zimla Dennis. The abductees were taken to Kakiri Army Barracks, where they were tortured, and they fully released save for Zimla and Wangolo. This abduction was witnessed...
Excuse me, young, please first come back. Come back. Sorry. I didn't want these leaders.
And they fully released save for Zimla and Wangolo. This abduction was witnessed by the area residents and an authoritative source, the Elson chairperson, Mr. Manje Richard. Honourable Speaker, neither records have proved the existence of Mr. Wangolo, contrary to the minister's claim that he is fictitious, that he has never existed. Last, Honourable Speaker, Mr. Semuddu Michael Jackson. The kidnap case of Mr. Semuddu was reported by his relative, Mr. Kafelu Michael, at Old Kampala Police Station under that reference on 26th of November 2020. His credentials at NIRA show that he was registered under that number. Honourable Speaker, I tell you to settle the matter that the victims of disappearance were fictitious, and the prayer you shall make to this House subsequently will be to eventually have occasion to situate and locate the others and confirm their existence, including The video clips I'll submit for the attention of the House. Right Honourable Speaker, excuse me. Officials of government claiming responsibility for missing persons. Right Honourable Speaker, I also bring to your attention and that of the House that some government leaders, including cabinet ministers, such as the Honourable Judith Nabakoba, are on record claiming responsibility for some of the missing persons. During a church service at St. Andrew's Cathedral, Namukozi in Mityana, in the presence of the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, the Honourable Nabakoba said she was aware of some opposition supporters who were abducted during elections. And when the families of these people approached her at her home in Kalangalo, she was able to secure their freedom, the freedom of the victims from Kireka SIU. She comes as a very useful witness in establishing the security layers involved in committing these heinous crimes, Right Honourable Speaker. And I will submit her video and voice record on that matter, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, in Nansana, one Yusuf Mugaga, an NRM leader, is implicated by the community in several abduction cases. He offered to secure the release of Mustafa Luemba's freedom in exchange for a fee from his relatives. He went on to produce Luemba's national ID to demonstrate that he knew where he was being held. Mr. Yusuf Mugaga has accomplices at room 18 at CPS Kampala building, where they coordinated the ransom and abduction conspiracies. The other officials implicated in the conspiracies are Champs Sub-County Giso, Mr. Swipe, Mr. Kafuma Twaha, chairperson of Kabembe, the former minister Ronald Chibule, and the former RDC Fred Bamwine, among others. Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the House should use this information to interrogate the activities of these individuals and come to a conclusion as to their role, whether they are being helpful or conspirators, Right Honourable Speaker. Subdued non-combatants. On November 6, 2022, heavily armed security operatives cruising a numberless Toyota Hiace minivan famously known as a drone sealed off Gladiator Paradise in Masanaf, Lubaga Division, where they indiscriminately beat up revelers who were watching a Premier League football match. In the scuffle, Kavuma Jamshid, a member of the security detail of the opposition NUP party president, was subdued, handcuffed, and shot as he inquired about the basis of his arrest. I refer the House to the BBC documentary entitled Drones, the Vans That Take People Away, dated 13th February 2023. I have attacked that record, Right Honourable Speaker. On November 18th, 2021, Right Honourable Speaker, Sheikh Chilevu, a Muslim cleric, was subdued as recounted by his wives, Amina Nabada and Sophia Nakachwa, handcuffed and shot dead. In sight of his children, despite peacefully submitting to the arresting officers to take him for prosecution. I refer the House to the URN report titled Family Disputes Police Narrative on Killed Sheikh Chilevu. Right Honourable Speaker, the evidence of his killing was all over the place and the circumstances. On May 8th, 2023, Hamid Muyodi, an NUP supporter, was shot in the thigh inside the Toyota Hiace minivan that contained JAT officers